Welcome back to another episode of Nsight, the podcast. Nsight is a show about varying perspectives. Every week on my social media accounts at The Dark Noble, I propose a topic that I'm seeking insight on, that I want your opinion, your feedback on. Based on the comments and the conversation that is sparked, I reconvene with a couple of guest co-hosts and we go over the topic and the matter and we give our insight, our personal insight and our personal experience. And we speak on the matter and we see the different perspectives on whatever matter or whatever topic that we're speaking on. But tonight is going to be a little different. Tonight, unfortunately, I do not have a guest co-host, and that was intentional. This episode has been a trying one, if I do say so myself. Everything that could possibly go wrong has gone wrong, so that I do not complete this episode. But I feel that it was such a necessary thing to complete. So, like I said, this is going to be a little different. It's just me, and I'm going to recount essentially give you guys a little story time. And then ultimately, offer my lesson that I've learned with resentment and, how that applies to my life going forward. So, before we get started, on every episode, I like to give, a little fun facts, so to speak, about myself, and just to give you some insight on some life experiences that I've had that have molded my perspective. And generally, me and my guest co-host would do this, but like I said, it's just me, so I'm just gonna give you mine, and then we're gonna get into the story, and I'm gonna give you a little backstory on why this was such a problematic episode to begin with. So, first and foremost, my about 5 or 6 life experiences that have shaped and cultivated my perspective. I've been a teen mom's baby before it was a trend. I'm an 80s baby, but I grew up in the 90s. I was born in Brooklyn, but I moved so much I've lost count. And because I've always been a new kid, I've always felt like an outsider. I grew up an only child, and betrayal is so familiar to me that meeting people now, they're guilty until proven innocent. Unfortunate. That's really unfortunate. But it is what it is. Those are things that I've experienced and that have kind of shaped me into the person that I am. And this topic was really problematic because, one, it made me rehash a moment that I'm pretty sure the people involved wish that I would just get over already and let go of. But I thought it to be a good topic or a good story to speak on because it involved so many people close to me. And I don't think that I've ever been in a situation again, or ever been in a situation prior to that where I've resented so many people simultaneously. But like I said, there are some people who would rather that I forget this and not hold them, not let this be the defining moment of our relationship. Unfortunately, it is. So when I originally wanted to tell this story, I wanted to name names and let people know I went through this with this friend of mine, my closest friend that I've ever had, and we came out on the other side and we good now. But when I originally decided to do this topic, I told that individual, I'm going to be doing this episode. I'm going to speak on this. And I do want to name a name. I do want to say who you are, just so that people have an understanding of, the depth of the relationship and how deep that pain ran because it was who it was. And, they weren't comfortable. At first, I told them what it is. I wasn't asking permission. I was, giving them a heads up. This is what I'm doing. I had a guest co-host and I recorded a whole episode about this. And, with that, the guest co-host was a third party to that relationship that I was going to speak on. And I felt like they were a good person to have on it. I don't know if it was because of nerves, but the individual really really dug into the both of us and, didn't make either of us look too good. But I was still willing to go forth with the episode and release it. When I informed, my friend about it, they weren't too happy with that. And, they expressed their discomfort with them being tied to it and that name being tied to it. So immediately I said, you know what, fine, say less. I'll scrap the episode. I'll redo it. I'll figure something else out. So in that process, I started thinking, all right, I already put it out that I'm going to do this topic. I already said that I was going to speak on a certain episode in my Seeking Insight segment video, prelude video. And so I was like, damn, what can I do now? How can I salvage this this episode and this topic? And so I began to sit with myself. And I'm like, all right, let's think this through. I think that I'm a great problem solver. And I said, all right, what can I do? How can I change this trajectory? Do I just like do the episode over, or do I redact the names? Like, do I, what do I do? What do I do? So I ultimately decided to just scrap the entire episode, and then I sat with the scenario, and then like I really started to get angry because I felt like I had this experience. And when I reacted to having this experience, I was criticized, and, I was looked at as like, an aggressor, or maybe overreacting. I don't know. I personally don't feel that I did. I don't feel that, my reaction to the scenario that I'm going to get into it. But I just want to give you some hindsight on like how we got here. But when I sat with the situation, I started thinking about everything. I really started to feel that resentment boiling back up again. And, one day during social media therapy, I saw a meme that said, if you're still triggered by it, you're not over it, or you're not healed from it. And that really made me like, oh shit, what the fuck was I really even about to do in this episode if I was going to speak on this relationship that I had, and I'm still having these feelings about it. Like, well, what are these feelings then that I'm feeling? Like, why am I getting upset? I was saying, I was upset that I had this experience. I was criticized for how I responded to it. I was criticized on how long it took me to get past it. And then now I felt like I was being dictated on how I could speak about the situation. I'm like, yo, this is my fucking story. If you don't like the way that you look at it, you shouldn't have done it. And then that's me like, all right, that's not me operating from a higher vibrating self. So that really made me sit with it. And I started to think back, like, like on all the life experiences that I have and the life events that have occurred that has ultimately shaped the trajectory of my life. And I came to the conclusion that I've had 5 major life events that have ultimately shook up my path and like redirected me on a different path. And those 5 life events were the day that my grandmother died, my maternal grandmother died, the day that my mother's fiance was murdered, the day that I first got arrested, my 25th birthday, and my 28th birthday. Those 5 life events have completely re-imaged my whole life and, whatever I thought I was going for or going to be. Or, so I was like, all right, this 4th experience I want to dig deeper into. So here we are. I wanted to tell you guys about this story. I'm going to start from the beginning about how my 25th birthday changed my entire life, I feel like, at that time. Now, I'm not going to say any names. I'm going to respect everybody's privacy. I'm going to respect, be respectful of everyone's wishes not to be named. So bear with me as I try to tell this story. And keep in mind that, like, not to give away exactly who I'm talking about. Although, if you know me, you know exactly who I'm talking about. But again, this is not coming from a place of malice. I'm just speaking my truth. And I'm like sharing a lesson that I've learned in life. So, I'm 24 years old, and I'm living with a family member. And this family member, said to me, our cousin, is like going through some hard times, and, they just need somewhere to stay. What do you think about them moving in or staying with us for a little while? And, I was like, we got mad room. Of course, why not? Like, it's just going to be for a short period of time. until they made their bigger move that they were planning on making in a few weeks. So I said, all right, fine, they're staying with us for a few weeks, no problem. Ultimately, it was my decision to make, like, whether or not I was cool with having them stay with us or not. They stayed, they came, they went, and whatever happened where they moved to didn't work out, and they needed to come back and stay with us again. However, this time, the energy was different. The vibes were off. It wasn't as kumbaya as it was the first time. It was a lot more problematic than I would have liked to have been in. So, at the time, that individual, that family member, wasn't working, and I was then being told that to be more considerate of them, being that they don't have a source of income, that I shouldn't be eating as much as I am, so that they can have more options of food to eat in the house, being that they don't have any money to contribute. So, I was a little disturbed. I was a little off put by that. I'm like, what are you saying? Like, this is ridiculous. I've been through this type of situation with this person that I was living with before. So it was a little triggering to feel like we were like going back through that. Although different scenario, different circumstances, but nevertheless, it was something that I've dealt with before with this family member that I was actually staying with. Not the person, not the family member that was staying with us, but the family member that I was living with. So it became an issue now when, I stopped cooking in the house. Like, being that I'm like, using too much stuff or, whatever, like, certain things need to be left in the house for this individual. I stopped eating as much as I was in the house. So what that meant is I would start ordering food for myself now, since I can't eat the food inside the house and I don't feel like, cooking or anything like that or using any of the groceries inside. I just started buying my own foods whenever I wanted to eat. That became an issue. It's not right that you buy food for yourself and not for everyone else. So wait a minute. I can't buy food for myself. I can't eat the food that's in the house because I need to worry, like, be considerate of them. So what is going on here? Like, what am I supposed to do? I'm not going to say I spend money on me when I want to eat. I want to spend money on me and everyone else in the household when there's food in here that they can eat that I'm not supposed to be touching. So that started to build a very contentious living environment for everyone in the household. And back then, I was a lot more assertive and vocal on speaking my mind, and I didn't have much of a filter on how that was being done. Even though I felt justified in it, the way that I was going about it probably wasn't the best. Not probably, wasn't the best way to be going about it. So at this time, my 25th birthday was gearing up, and I really wanted to do this tour of Europe. So I started looking into it and seeing how much it cost, and I was like, damn, I can't pay this in one shot. Like, if I could break this into monthly payments, I can definitely do that. I got a job, but like to do it all at once, I couldn't do it. So I asked this family member that I was staying with, I'm like, yo, I have this idea that I want to do. I want to take this trip for my birthday, but, it's pretty expensive. Do you think that, you can allow me to like put the trip on a credit card and I'll pay you the money that it takes to pay it off? Like, if we start at a certain amount of time, I'll have enough time to pay it off and, everything would be cool. They agreed yes, and that's what we were going to do. However, things started to go left with that individual again. And, we all got into it, and it became an issue of a whole issue within the whole house. Like, it started to like permeate throughout the whole house. Now, we all got an issue with one another, or more so them versus me. So that offer, that kind deed that they initially agreed, that family member agreed to do for me, they wound up reneging and saying, that they won't be will help me out with that, and I'm on my own. So, very hurt, very bitter about the situation. Like, I was just really upset, and I was just like, you know what, fuck it. I ain't doing nothing for my birthday then. Like, there's no way that I can afford that by myself. I can't do that at the moment. And then if I try to wait until, I saved up enough money, it'll probably be more expensive. So I was like, you know what? It's a dub. And that was the end of my birthday plans. Fast forward to about the weekend before my birthday. I hit up my friends, and it was like the Friday before my birthday. My birthday was on a Monday, so I hit up my friends on a Friday. I'm like, yo, what's the vibes looking like? Like, where we at? What we doing? Like, my birthday's on Monday. We should go out and celebrate this weekend. One of them was like, oh, man, I wish you would have told me sooner. I already made plans for somebody else's birthday. And, I'm not going to be free. And first, it's like, these are like my closest friends, like the closest people to me at this point, closer than my family was to me at that point. So I'm like, fuck you mean? It's me. I'm your people. It's like, you call me family. Like, you introduce me as your family to people. What you mean you got somebody else's party to go to? Dub them, party with me. But I wasn't that inconsiderate. I wasn't that childish. Like, while I was disturbed by it or upset by it, I accepted it. One was like, yeah, it was just too last minute. One was like, yeah, I already got plans. So I was like, all right, fuck it. I'm really not doing nothing for my birthday. That Friday, I went and got a haircut. And, that was that. Like, I went home and I was just chilling. And the next day in a group chat, those two friends, like, hit me up and was like, yo, you should book someplace, like, find somewhere for us to go, have reservations made, and we should go out and have dinner at least for your birthday. On my birthday, Monday night, their plans. Well, their setting in motions of plans, rather. So I was like, all right, fine, cool, all right, dope. I appreciate that. Let's do that then. Let's make that happen. So they was like, but I work at this time, so whatever plans you make has to be made after this hour. And another person's like, yeah, I don't have a babysitter until this time, so whatever plans you do decide to make sure that you make it after these time. I'm like, okay. All right, you said I need to make it at this time. All right, now, we live in Jersey at this point, and, Jersey shuts down at much earlier than New York. So I was like, all right, but, so should I book somewhere in Jersey, or should I do it in New York, being that, we got like all these time constraints and stuff like that. So long story short, they say, you know what, go ahead, book it in New York, because I couldn't find anything in Jersey anyway. So I was like, all right, fine, we'll book it in New York. And I found a spot, I think it was Spice Restaurant. And for those of you who are watching the video podcast of this podcast, if you don't know as well, like, this podcast is on all, platforms for podcasters, but I also do a video version on YouTube, so you can check this out as well. But yeah, if you see the thumbnail for this video, that's the dinner setting for my birthday that night. And I made the reservations for Spice, and I made the reservations for 7. They told me, like, this is the time that we're working with, and this is when you need to do it if you want us to be a part of it. And I did that. And I was like, I would go so far as, like, if you want to bring your significant others, like, it's a turn up, it's a milestone birthday. So I'm like, if you want to bring, a friend, or if you want to bring a significant other, I know, like, some of them were in relationships at the time. And, if you want to, like, have a little thing, a little date night, make it a little event, I'll set the reservations for a few extra people, so that, you can bring it. They was like, all right, fine, cool. I don't know if they'll definitely come, but, like, yeah, do that. So I made the reservations for 7 people. And the day of now, Monday comes, and I live in Jersey. I'm the only one that's not driving. And I get to the restaurant first. Obviously, it's my birthday, my party. Like, I'm getting there, make sure, like, I'm checked in, like, the tables is all set, and we're all ready to go. So I get to the restaurant, and, I hadn't hit up anybody to see, like, where they're at, anything like that. I wasn't trying to stress anybody, press anybody. You said this is the time that you wanted. I made it for my birthday. I'm accommodating all of y'all. So, yeah, so that's that. The day of my birthday now, like, I'm in the household with the 2 family members that I live with. And, we cut a cake. Because that's just a thing that is done for birthdays. Like, at the very least, you'll get a cake. But outside of that, there was no um, anything else. There was nothing, no celebration, no gifts, no like congratulations, you made it to a quarter of a century. It was none of that. It was just like, oh, hey, it's your birthday, happy birthday. Here's this cake, and we all went into our respective corners, and that was that. So I waited all day for everyone to like wrap up their day so that I can get my day started and celebrate my birthday, and I made it all around everybody's schedule. So I get to the restaurant and I'm waiting for everyone to get there, and I hit up, I start hitting everyone up like, yo, what's up? Where you at? I'm here. And at first I'm not getting any responses, and I'm like, fuck. So then I call one of my friends and I'm like, yo, what's up? Where you at? Oh, I'm still in the bed. What? Like, I made this. I think the reservations were set for 9, and that was just so like if people had work or people had their babysitters, like it gave them enough time to get their babysitters settled, to get home if you needed to change, and then make it back to the city. So I made it at like 9 o'clock, and it was like the last reservation that you can make for the evening at that restaurant. So um I'm like, yeah, we on the phone. I'm like, wait, you still home? What you mean? Oh yeah, I'm waiting on so and so, and they haven't gotten here yet. So, I'm waiting. So I'm like, all right, fine, cool. Not cool, but weird. All right. So what time you plan on leaving? Oh, whenever they get here, then we're gonna be out. We're gonna be heading. We're gonna head straight to you. And I'm just like trying to understand like what type of timing y'all think y'all about to make. Like you still in Jersey. Like the reservation has officially started at this point. So I called the other friend who was driving, and I was like, yo, what's up? Where you at? Oh, I'm still home. Wait, what time you plan on leaving? I don't know what time I plan on leaving. I don't know. I don't know whenever I leave. Wait, what do you mean? Now, me and this friend had like started like we started to drift apart. The relationship started to fizzle. Like we had been friends pretty much our whole teens, well, late teens, all the way up until modern day. But at this point, like we were really hitting a rough patch. We weren't as close as we used to be. Really didn't even spend much time, but this was like my closest friend. And just to get that type of response, oh, I don't know. I mean, you know what time you're supposed to be here, and you didn't even leave, and you're not even saying what time you plan on leaving. Oh, I told you I had to wait for my babysitter this, that, third, and the fourth. I'm like, but your babysitter lives with you. What are you saying? Like your babysitter should have been home. You said an hour ago they would have been back, and they live with you. Why are you still? Oh, well, I had to do this, that, and the third. I'm like, but you're supposed to be here already. And I wasn't getting anywhere, and they was just really just like nonchalant. I don't give a fuck. It is what it is. And so I hung up. And so I started texting the other person I was texting, and I said, you know what? Like, this is crazy. I can't believe y'all haven't even left yet. Like, what the fuck? I'm like, you know what? Don't even bother coming. Forget it. Oh, are you sure? Wow. I said, you know what? Don't even bother coming. And their response to me was, are you sure? Like, oh, okay, great. You let me off the hook. And I just like, keep in mind, this is not the weekend before my birthday. This is not the weekend after my birthday. This is my actual birthday, September 23rd. I don't remember the year. I don't want to tell y'all how far back that is anyways. But, yeah, so I'm sitting there at this restaurant, and in the midst of that, the host walks up to me and she's like, hey, do you know around when your party's going to start showing up? Because, we're about to close the kitchen. So here I sit at this restaurant by myself on my birthday. And one friend is like, they don't know. They could care less as to giving me a time frame as to when they plan on making it. The other one is like, I really don't want to come. So if you let me off the hook, by all means, thank you. And, the other two, they said that they were actually late. They were on their way. The other two, I had two other people coming, and they were coming from Brooklyn, which they should have been there first, in my opinion. But whatever, they were running late. So I'm here at this restaurant by myself. And if you listen to the things that I've said, like, the things that kind of shaped and molded my perspective on life, I have been betrayed so much that I feel like, people are guilty until proven innocent. I'm an only child. I moved around a lot. Um, excuse me. I move around a lot, and I'm always an outsider. I'm always a new kid, so I'm always an outsider. So all of those traumas are like running through my broken self right now. And I just feel like, my family at home, that shit is crazy. Like, it's not a good place to be in. I sought out refuge from my peoples, my friends, my man-made family, or handmade family rather. And this is what they did on my birthday. And birthdays to me have always been a big thing. I think for my 16th birthday, I had just moved back to New York. I used to live in Florida, and I just moved back to New York, and I was living with a family member then as well. And we weren't on the best of terms, and we weren't on good terms at all. And in typical fashion, I was bought a cake, and then that was it. Just like my 23rd birthday. So a lot of triggering moments were happening on this day. So it's just a replay of my 16th birthday where, I lived with this family member. We weren't on the best of terms, but they believed that, you should buy a cake. A birthday is not a birthday without a cake. So at least I had a cake. But once the cake was cut, I was again by myself to spend the day with myself. So I remember on my 16th birthday, like, I said, I'm not going to sit in the house. Like, I had the cake, I ate a piece of cake, and then I just went and I walked around the neighborhood. Because I never lived there. I was first time living in Queens. So I just like walked around the neighborhood and just like stopped at a corner store, bought some stuff. And I spent time by myself and, try to make that day as special as I possibly can. So from then on, I've always been big on birthdays, and everybody who knows me knows this. Like, I make a big deal about my birthdays all the time. Like, it's one, I'm a black man, and I'm an outspoken black man. So the fact that I even get to see these birthdays is a big deal to me. Two, I feel like it's a celebration of my life. Like, I'm thankful for being here. And like, if you are partaking in it, you're thankful for my being in this world as well and being a part of your life. So it's a big deal to me. And how you respond to it it lets me know everything I need to know about you and as it pertains to me. So the two closest friends that I had at that time never came, never showed. After that friend responded back like, "Oh, are you sure?" I was like, wow, like, fuck out of here. And I didn't even respond back to the text message. I just stopped responding at that point. Because at this point now, it doesn't fucking matter what you do. It's late now. The reservation is essentially over. The kitchen is closed. So when the other two friends that were late came, we went to a different restaurant and we ate there. And then, I got back on my bus and I went back home to Jersey. And that was it. That was the end of my birthday. Happy fucking 25th birthday. But it gets better. So, as I said, where I was living was very contentious. The vibe was off. There was a lot of tension in the air. I wasn't speaking to the people in the household. So that was Saturday. I'm sorry, that was Monday. And, the next day was Tuesday. And I had to go to work. So I was home, going to bed, and trying to fall asleep. And no, I'm sorry. Wait, rewind. It wasn't the next day yet. So that following weekend, so my birthday was on a Monday. That following Friday, my friends wanted to make it up to me. And I think either that Friday or that Saturday, we went out and, they took me out, but that resentment, and this is where resentment starts for me. This is where the resentment starts for me. I didn't respond to them for like the first couple of days of the week because I just felt that to be so fucked up. One friend didn't even respond. The one that said, "I don't know." Like, they never even reached out to like make amends or apologize or anything. They just didn't give a fuck. And that just like really, really hurt just because like that was the closest person to me in my life. And the fact that you didn't even feel the need to say anything. "Oh, you'll get over it." you know damn well I'm not getting over it. So I don't even know why that mentality was like that. Oh, we'll go out this weekend and it'll be better this week. But like, it still doesn't change the fact that you did what you did on my birthday. So regardless of what we do now, doesn't change the fact that my experience that I had was the experience that I had. And I think that they were very upset that I didn't let them off the hook. They were very upset at the fact that I was so hurt by it and the response that I had to them. We went out that night and I didn't speak to them again for another 3 years. It was 3 years before we spoke again. And, I just wasn't able to like forgive and forget, especially like me being a broken individual at that time. And, I just didn't have the maturity level to be that forgiving. So long story short, then I go home that night. That was Saturday. Sunday, I'm just in the house. It was very contentious. And the next Monday now I had work. So Sunday night I'm going to bed, and that family member that moved in with me and that other family member, so ridiculous. I'm trying to be respectful of people here. But my cousin that was staying with us had a relationship that was like, up and down. And that night that I was trying to go to bed and get ready for work, so I could go to bed and, for work the next day, they happened to be in an argument with their significant other. And they were screaming, like going off really loud. Now, the other person that lived with us, whose house it is, their room, the way that it's set up, like they wouldn't hear it as loud because the walls that they share are so separate. Like they would be so far away from them, and then the TV is on, so like it muffled what's going on outside of that room. So they couldn't hear all that I was hearing. I was laying in the dark, drifting off to sleep, and then all you hear is just screaming on the top of your lungs. So, I get out of bed, I knock on the door, boom, boom, boom. Hey, I'm like in the room trying to go to sleep. I got work in the morning. You're kind of loud. Do you mind if you just keep it down a little? Try to keep it simple, respectful. It is what it is. They didn't respond to me. I stood there for about like 5-10 seconds waiting to get a response, some sort of acknowledgement. Didn't get that acknowledgement, but I know you heard me because I'm looking at you and you're looking at me, so you heard me. Say less. So I go back to my room. I lay back in my bed. I start to drift off to sleep. And then the commotion starts up again. So then now I'm knocking on the wall like, yo. The voice kind of simmers down a bit. And then shortly after, it goes haywire again. Like screaming off the top of the lungs. So now I'm annoyed. And I'm like, yo, this is fucking ridiculous. So I get up. I open the door. I didn't knock this time. I opened the door. I stood at the door. I didn't enter the room. I just stood at the door. I'm like, yo, like I came in here before. I asked you politely to keep it down. You started making noise again. I knocked on the wall, and now here we are again. Like, yo, I have to get up in the morning. Can you keep the noise down? What the fuck made me say that? This individual jumps out the bed, runs to my face, screaming, hollering out, like the energy that they wanted to give to their significant other, they can't give to their significant other. So they go to the next best thing, and I'm standing there. So I'm standing at the door like, so now the person's whose house it is, they hear the commotion going on now. They wake up and now they coming out and they running at me. What are you doing? What am I doing? Like, you don't see me screaming and acting a fool. And I'm standing outside the door. So like, what do you mean? What am I doing? Like, check this person. It became this big thing. My cousin, pulled a knife out on me and was threatening to stab me. I'm like, yo, if you was about that life, you would have done it. They called up their family, their siblings. And so they said, like, yo, you got to come out here. We got to take care of him. Like, all of this is going on. And the other family member that we live with is just not checking that at all. And I just felt betrayed. Like, damn, like, you just going to sit here. You hear this? You hear them talking about setting me up. And you just sit here hearing this. And then, they was like, I think it's best if y'all leave. Make sure I think it's time for everybody to leave. Like, y'all need to pack up your things. I took that for that person up for their word, and that's immediately what I began to do. I packed up my bags. I made reservations for me to go somewhere and stay. And after having a birthday that I had, and living in this contention all these months, I was like, all right, I'm cool. I'm done. I'm off this. Like, it's nothing here for me no more. Like, I don't got no friends. I don't got family that fucking fuck with me heavily. And granted, I'm not gonna put it on all of them. Like, for me to have so much dysfunction around me, that goes to show like what type of dysfunction was going on inside of me. I believe that energy is like gravity and mass. Like, with something with enough mass, that gravity is going to start pulling that like-minded shit to you. So my life is in commotion because I'm in commotion, and this is evident. And I just had enough. Like, yo, I don't. My friends like shitted on me. My family members in this household shitted on me, plotting to like get me fucked up and telling me that I gotta leave. Say less. That's what I'm gonna do. Now, if y'all remember, if you following the show, on episode 2, whole phase, I said like, there was a point in time where like I got up and I ran away. I didn't really run far. I ran to New York, but no one knew where I went. I got up that night. I packed my bags. I packed up all my shit. I changed my phone number that same night. And the next day, around noon or so, I called a cab, and I took a cab from Jersey to New York, and I stayed with somebody else in New York for a little while. And for about a year, nobody knew where I was, or how to call me or text me. But I will say, a thing that like I really didn't forgive, or like that really didn't sit well with me, is like, everyone was like acting like it was so hard they couldn't get in touch with me. My emails never changed, and they've had my emails, because actually I had to send them the email verification from the restaurant. So if you really wanted to get in touch with me, you could have. But I heard through the grapevines that like, certain people were reaching out to other friends of mine in New York and seeing if they heard from me, and they had, but they told them that they didn't, because I asked everyone that I did decide to keep in contact with to not say anything to anybody. And that's just what it was. Like, I started like this whole new life. So now we're going to get into the lesson of this now, right? So that's the story. That was my 25th birthday, where I felt completely alone, where I felt completely betrayed, let down. And these people, like, I'm a lot of things, right? You can say I'm difficult. You can call me aggressive. I can be whatever you want me to be. But if I rock with you, like, I fuck with you. I think I said this in the prelude video, right? I fuck with you heavy. So regardless of what's going on, I'm a person that you can always depend on because I fuck with you. So to have that type of mentality and to feel like, I would have done, and I did do everything that I could do for anybody if they asked of me, if it was within my power, within my means, I made it happen. So to have that type of response from everybody and this like cavalier, I don't give a fuck, like, it is what it is, oh well, that just made me feel like, I really don't have nobody. And this resentment in me just built. And, I left. That first week of my 25th, I just said, fuck everybody. Fuck everyone I knew. Like, I just left. I dipped. And something I never shared with my friends or anyone close to me before, I've always dreamt about running away. I've never felt... I don't want to make this a sad sob story either. Like, I'm just telling an experience. But I never felt settled with wherever I was. Like, nothing felt like, home, or it felt right. And even those relationships that I had with those individuals, like, there was so much contention in them just because it was forcing a square into a circle. And we didn't fit. But my abandonment issues wouldn't allow me to separate myself from these people until I had no other choice. And I felt like I was backed into a corner. Like, clearly, these motherfuckers don't fuck with me. So let me be about my way. But growing up as a kid, I always dreamt of like starting life over, moving away, changing my name, changing my identity, everything, and just starting life over across country. Like, in my mind, I always thought I would go to California or Arizona, which is ridiculous because I hate to be hot. I don't like warm climates, not consistently year-round warm climates anyway, so that was stupid. But I went back to New York, and New York always been home. So I was like, yo, this is perfect. I started to do what I wanted to do. I started to like experience life. I was more open. Like, everything that I thought life to be, I just completely just forgot. Like, I started questioning everything. This is what led me to like the whole phase. Like, like, I'm like, all right, let me, I've always been conservative. I've always been like, real picky and choosy. Not to say that I'm not anymore, but, I was like more relaxed with my standard, and I didn't have like my upbringing, like those voices in my head that's telling me, oh, this is right, or this is wrong, or this is the way you should be, this is the way you shouldn't be, this is the way things go, and this is the way it shouldn't go. Like, I just released all of that and just really started to like revamp my whole life. And I started to build new friendships. But resentment didn't stop with those individuals that I left behind in Jersey. When I started making these new friendships, I wouldn't even call them friends. And there have been so many instances where, people tend to gravitate towards me. People tend to like me, and like, I think that I'm a good conversationalist. I think that I'm a good person. I'm a fun time to be around, like, so people like naturally gravitated towards me, but I had that wall up, that wall of resentment that was just blocking me from like getting close to anybody. And only like-minded people were able to see past that. I think people who had like, traumas of like abandonment or needed to be connected to people, having that type of relationship with me just wasn't sitting well with them. So those relationships obviously didn't work out. Those friendships, those relationships didn't work out because I just wasn't there to be open with people. Fast forward, like I said, a whole year went by. Nobody knew where I was. Eventually, my family figured out and found out where I was, and that started to spread. And it wasn't until 3 years after my birthday, my 28th birthday, which I said is one of my five major life events, is when I reconnected with those individuals, that the friends that missed my 25th. And, it was really hard trying to reconnect with them. One of them, like, we had a conversation. They sat down, we spoke, and he's like, yeah, I don't even remember why I was really mad at you. I'm like, yeah, I don't even understand. Well, how could you be mad at me? Like, like I didn't do anything to you. This wasn't like a me doing something to you. So like, how could you be mad? And I guess they felt upset at the fact that my reaction, the fact that I didn't let them off the hook, the fact that I like just deaded them and didn't say a word. But it's like, I didn't owe you that anymore because you didn't obviously respect and value me. And like, on my day, so I didn't feel like I owe you anything. I felt like honestly, that that was the nicer way of me going about it, like not saying nothing, because I think I did. I think I may have said some words. I think the week leading into, or maybe I sent an email. I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember the time frame, but I believe I did say some things. Like I expressed myself before I cut everyone off, like typical dramatic me. Gave this big message and then just like went ghost. And I guess they were mad at that. And, the individual was like, yeah, I don't even really remember why I was mad at you at this point. I just know that the other friend was saying a lot of things and, it was just like fueling me and just like essentially putting a battery in the back or whatever. And I was like, duly noted. And that was hard to hear because it's like, so wait a minute, you shitted on me on my birthday, then talk shit about me after the fact, like as if I did something wrong to you. That shit was wild to me. So, but I wanted to move forward. I thought that I was in a better place. So I was like, I re-invited them back into my life. And my 28th birthday was a whole nother shit show. And not to say that these people are bad people at all, but I think that's a clear indication. Like, the first time we reconvened, or like come back together, shit was just so chaotic. And that's a whole story for another story for a different case. And my resentment from them even started to build back up from there with them because of the situation that happened with that. But like I said, that's a whole different story. But yeah, so that was my experience, in my life altering experience with resentment. And it was such a big deal for me because it was like never at a time did I like resent every single major active person in my life. Like the family members, my friends, like I literally just despised, disconnected, did not fuck with anybody anymore. And that shit just really sat with me. So fast forward to now, I'm going to do this episode of resentment, and I'm sitting with these thoughts like, why the fuck do I have to censor myself and tell my story when you the one, whoa, why are you having this type of reaction? Even more so. So what I learned with resentment in me is that resentment is my boundary being exceeded. If I'm at a place now where I resent you, that means that whatever boundary that I created, whether I know of it, whether you know of it or not, whatever boundary that I've had, whatever boundary I have, if I get to a point to where I resent you, that means that you crossed that boundary. And looking back on the situation now, me knowing what I know now, I don't believe that it was in any of our best interests of me rekindling those relationships, because and I didn't know this then, so like I did it, and I did it with good faith, with like I really wanted to sustain. I was holding the amount of years that we had in this relationship over quality. The quantity was over outweighing the quality of the relationships. And me being that broken individual, being that abandoned child, deep down, I wanted to hold on. Like, all right, well, I've known these people for so long. I could get past this, and we can move past this. And I realized that I never reconnected back with them wholly. It's always been a divide, a distance. So here I am about to sit here and do this episode and show y'all, like, yeah, I went through this with this friend, and come to find out, I really never got past that. Resentment doesn't die within me. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And in my interpretation that I interpret it, I feel that it's not neither or. It's not a good or a bad thing. I just feel like it is what it is. It's my boundary being exceeded. And we need boundaries to protect us, especially if you're aware of your traumas. Like, I'm very conscious of my traumas now in my adult age. I know what triggers me. I know why I'm triggered by certain things. So I need boundaries in order to protect those traumas and ensure that those traumas aren't triggered. So I look back at it now and I'm like, damn, like, I wanted to show, like, yeah, I got so far in this friendship, like, we're good now, and it really we're really not. Like, I could never feel myself. I never felt safe. I never felt safe around them again, because I know what you're capable of, and I know how deep you really fuck with me, And again, not bad. These people are not bad people. Great people. And talented people, like, beautiful people. But I feel that the relationship died that day on my birthday. And while I went out with them a few days after to try to, like, salvage whatever was salvageable, it just never connected back. And once I get to resenting you, it's hard for me not to. I'm always going to see you as such. And then what I also realized is that, like, I started my healing journey. Why I'm so thankful for that experience, and why I say that it's a life altering event, is because it forced me to jump out and be on my own. Like, I've always, like I said, I've always wanted to move away. Like, there was, like, even at a point in time during my 24th birthday where I started to look into moving to California, but I was so afraid of, like, moving across country, being solely completely by myself. And that just, like, scared the shit out of me. And I was like, nah, I'm not doing it. I'm staying. But this situation forced me, and it forced me onto my healing journey. And what I realized now, when I reconvened with these people, when I reconnected with them, our healing processes were at different levels and different points. Not to say, I don't know if I'm further in mine than they are, or if they are further than me, but whatever it is, wherever we're at, is different points. And I realized that we no longer align. And I realized that I can't be myself with you anymore. This person that I've grown into be, this better person that I've grown into be, won't even allow you to experience it, because I'm so resentful of you that I can't let my walls down, because I don't feel safe with you anymore. And I want people to like really think on it. Like, I don't want you to feel like, because you have to dead a relationship, or because I don't even feel like you necessarily, I'm not saying that I'm dead in any relationships. I think I have to reimagine our interaction after having this aha moment that I sat with myself and discovering, like, what resentment is for me, and how does that impact me, how it impacted my relationships after this situation even occurred. I realized, like, people have to normalize putting yourself first. What works for you is what should be your first priority, not like, how is this going to impact someone? Because if you're sitting here neglecting yourself, or neglecting what you feel is right and what's best for you, just for the sake of, like, I don't want to disappoint these people, or I don't want to look like the bad guy. Like, fuck being a bad guy. I want to be happy. That's where I'm at. Like, I like peace. I was such this, like, I had so much toxic energy around me because I was so toxic within. And then when I finally, like, branched out and I started to define my own life and have my own being, my own identity, I was like, yeah, I don't connect with these people anymore. This is why, I don't pursue the relationship, or I don't put the effort into the relationship as I have with my newer friendships. So with that being said, like, new friends, like, like I said, I wouldn't even call people friends. And like, the people that were able to stand beside me and like see past that and not like hold me to that, like, I understand, like, you going through, like, we all going through something, and we all are this way for a reason. And they gave me the freedom to be me and to allow me the space to get acclimated with them, to trust and to be safe with them. I'm so thankful for the friends that I've accrued over the years, because they allowed that. Like, if you are close to me, if I ever, like, if I got drunk with you on the side of the road, or if I'm in your house, like, I want you to know, like, I valued you, whether we're close or not now. Like, it was a meaningful relationship, and meaningful relationship that I didn't think that I was capable of even having anymore. So that experience was such a great experience, albeit like fucking rough, and like, one of the toughest things, of the harshest realities I had to face. Like, my family don't fuck with me, my friends don't fuck with me. I'm just out here for dolo. And I'm appreciative of that, because like the person that I've grown to be, the person who I am now, wouldn't be here had I not gone through that. Like, if I never left Jersey, if I would have stayed in that house, like, what else would have happened? What type of violence could have occurred in the house that I was staying in? What type of like impression? This is another thing that I want people to think about. Like, everyone likes to believe that they're strong, they're tough, I can handle, I can make it through this. This is nothing. This is light work. Like, I'll be all right, I'll make it out of it. Like, you might, yeah, you very well may make it out of it, but what toll did that take on you? You can't put yourself in positions and be in certain situations and like, I'll be all right, I'll make it through, but like, it takes a toll. And for years, I think now I'm just now being able to like be open to like making new friendships, like a broader friendship. Like, I definitely created, I have a affinity with space, and I look at me as like, as we all are, we are the sun of our own universes, our own worlds, our own solar systems. So I'm the sun in my solar system, and then I have these exo friends or relationships, and then I have the inner planets, my inner relationships that are a lot closer. And I learned how to like gauge and make those differences and make those distinctions between me and those friends now. And I'm able to have healthy relations where I'm actually able to say, yo, hey, this is my friend so-and-so. Or like, yo, I can confide in you. I can call you and I can vent to you. I can trust in you. I can relate to you. And you can do that for me as well. Like, a healthy relationship. And that wouldn't have been possible had I had not had the experience what I did that I had with my friends. But yeah, like I was saying, like, looking back at it now, I feel that it was a poor decision on my part to try to reconnect with those individuals, because here they are, like, thinking like they don't like, regardless of my reaction or whatever I had, they didn't feel what I felt, and they don't know how deep and why it impacted me so much, given the traumas that I have. Like, they're not, like, we were young then, we're not thinking about people's traumas. Even after we reconnected, we're not thinking about people's traumas and how that, and what type of toll that inflicted on their traumas that they already had. So, I could never, like, it was wrong of me, because I could never give them my full self anymore. I don't care if you don't show up anymore, or if you're leaving me out of things. Like, I don't care to invest in a relationship as much, because it's just like that resentment is still there. Resentment with me, what I learned, the lesson that I learned in here is like, resentment doesn't leave me. So I have to do what I can in these relationships to ensure that like I don't get to that point. I'm a communicator. Like, I won't say that those people didn't know. Like, we definitely were having our issues, our issues leading up to my birthday. But I won't say that like they weren't aware of how I felt and like, what I needed from them as friends. I'm very communicative. I'm very open, and like, so for you to have done that, that just shows that you just didn't have the mental capacity to be considerate of my traumas. And who has the tools? Like, we're not taught that. So, but unfortunately, what I realize now is that I can't come back from that. Resentment for me is a permanent thing. If I resent you, we can try to reimagine the relationship, but it won't be what it used to be. And I can't let go of, it's like that Beyonce song, I can't get over the way that you hurt me. And I can't see past that. And it's not fair for me to keep people around in my inner planet system, but yet treating them like they're an exoplanet. That's wrong of me. And that's something that I had to take into consideration. And that's something that I wanted to share with you all. Like, you know, this show, again, is all perspective. It's all subjective. Like, my experience is different from yours. So how I deal with resentment, somebody might be out there like, yo, bro, you sound hurt. You still mad. Let it go. And it's like, nah, I'm able to now speak about this after so many years, especially with a lighter heart, a clearer mind, because I understand why that had to happen the way for it to happen. Like, I wouldn't be where I am now. Like, you know, and that was another thing, like, you know, I would reconnect with these people and they still saw me as that contentious, toxic person as I was before. But like, I've grown. Some of them felt that way, but I've grown, and they weren't able to see my growth because all they could think of, all they remember is who I used to be. And because I can't be my full self with them, that's why I was like, wow, this is why, like you're saying, like, so for instance, like, you know, the last episode that I did of this show, you know, when that other person came on, that was like the third party to all that stuff that went on, you know, they had some things that to say about me. And I felt like, how can you still have this perspective of me? Like, you know how much work I've done? And it really started to make me second guess myself. Like, damn, I'm fucked up. Like, you know, I'm still not in a good space. Like, you know, if you're still having this perspective of me, then I must not be doing my shadow work. I must not be doing all my healing and all, and being conscious. And I was like, wait a minute, no, I can't own that. That's not me, because my life is different now. I don't have contentious relationships anywhere in my life. What I have now, like, is so much more before. Like, you know, I have a home, my own space. That's for the first time in my life. Like, you know, I'm stable. You know, things is different for me now. I'm in a better energy. So, like, you know, the fact that you can't see that shows that we're not like on the same path. Like, our healing journeys led us to different ways, and I have to reimagine those relationships now. I have to repurpose them and set better expectations from them and me on how we look moving forward. But that was my lesson in resentment. I'm not exactly sure those 4 other life events that I mentioned: my grandmother, my stepfather being murdered, me being arrested, and my 28th birthday. I'm not exactly sure what life lesson ties to those just yet. I just learned this, and like, you know, my 25th birthday was some years ago, and I just caught the lesson though, you know. And that, obviously, everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. Like, these people came back into my life, and this moment was supposed to happen so that I can get this lesson. But yeah, that's where I'm at with it now, and I'm okay with that. I hope that they can be okay with that. When they hear this will be the first time they hear my stance on it, and where I'm at now with it. And I thought about that as well. Like, you know, how are they gonna feel? But then I was like, you know, worrying about how they feel negates my experience and my need to get this message and then share this message with somebody else. I can't think about how you're gonna feel about my experience, my truth. You know, no love lost, no disrespect, intended respectfully. I wish everyone the best. I want everyone to be happy, and I feel like, you know, we learned what our roles in our lives. I have to learn. What I'm now learning in life is like, be okay with letting relationships end where they were, or being what they are. Quality over quantity. Right? Did I say that right? Quality over quantity. Quality over quantity is where I'm at now. Like, you know, just because a friendship or a relationship is longer does not necessarily make it a better relationship. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're supposed to hold on to it. We have to know, like, when things have ran their course, get the lesson that you're supposed to get from it and move on. And that's where I'm at with that. I can honestly say that after all these years, I finally made peace with my 25th birthday and all that played into it being what it was, and the lesson that it taught me and the toll that it took on me. I am a stronger individual now. I'm still working through my shit, but it is what it is. That's life. We grow and we move on. But yeah, I just wanted to share that story with you all and share what I took from it. I don't know from you guys' perspectives if that makes sense to you, or if like that sounds right. It's not for me to wonder or even care about if you feel that it's right. It's what's right for me. And that's just where I'm at with that. And that's my experience with resentment. So yeah, like going forward, I know now that resentment is my borderline, or is the Q factor that the borderline has been exceeded or has been surpassed. My boundary has been surpassed. When you get to the point where I resent you, that means that this relationship is not for me anymore. That's my marker, my cue in saying that this relationship isn't safe for you. So to protect yourself, to protect your energy, and to protect your peace, you have to let this go. Now I know going forward how to make that distinction on whether or not a relationship is worth salvaging. Is it in my best interest? Is it in their best interest? Do we both benefit from this? Now, is one person getting more than the other? That doesn't work then. If it ain't a 50-50 trade, it doesn't work. So I hope that like my experience, you could take something from this and get something out of it. I'm so thankful and I'm so appreciative of the people that have been put in my life, because like I'm all about learning. It's the whole purpose of this show. Like I wanted to create a platform where I can get different people's opinions and perspectives so I can learn and grow and evolve more. Like that's what I thrive off of. That's what I like. So hopefully you got something out of this. I'm going to wrap up this episode here. Make sure you keep in touch. Let me know in the comments or, on my social media accounts. Hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. You can watch this video on YouTube as well. The Dark Noble. Just look that up. And go to my Instagram page and I'll have all the links to everything. And let me know what you think. Let me know, not that I really, let me be careful with my words because this is social media, this is the internet. You got to be careful about what you invite. Tell me about your experience with resentment and what it means for you. I don't want you to comment on my thing. I don't need you to validate or invalidate my experience. That's not what I told this story for. But I just want to get the conversation started. Let me know in the comments or hit me up on my Instagram or my Twitter page and tell me your experience with resentment. A lot of y'all hit me up and y'all hit me up on the private messages, and I appreciate that. But like if you feel comfortable with it, let's make the conversation public, and let's keep these conversations flowing so that we all grow. But that's my time here with y'all. My name is Nigel. Thank you again for tuning in to Nsight the podcast. Tune in next week. We're gonna be talking about some toxic shit. It's gonna be a lot more lighter after this conversation, after this week that I had. Even just trying to get this episode done, I needed a more light topic to like just bring me out of it, because this shit was rough. It was heavy. It was a lot between sorting through my emotions and trying to even get the fucking episode put together. I had mad technical difficulties, but I felt like that just meant that I needed really to commit in getting this message out. So next week we talking about toxic fucking addictions. Why do we fucking love toxicity? Why do we love being in toxic situations? So stay tuned for that. That's what we're gonna be talking about next week. This was episode 3, Resentment, Party of 7. You guys have a good night and you take care. Oh.